The cargo ship Defiant Hope moved through space like any other merchant vessel carrying supplies to the outer colonies. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair watching the stars drift past on the main screen. His ship looked ordinary. From the outside, with its plain gray hull and standard cargo markings, the crew of 12 people went about their daily work just like any other trading crew would do. Lisa Grant checked the navigation systems at her station near the front of the bridge. She had been Jake's first officer for 3 years now and knew the ship better than anyone except Jake himself. Her fingers moved across the control panels with practiced ease as she monitored their course through the Kepler corridor. This was a well-traveled route that many ships used to reach the frontier colonies. In the engine room, Bobby Chin worked on the power systems. He was young but very good with machines and could fix almost anything that broke on the ship. The engines hummed quietly as they pushed the Defiant Hope toward their destination of New Dakota Colony. Bobby whistled while he worked because he enjoyed his job and liked being part of the crew. The cargo holds were full of what appeared to be farming equipment and grain supplies. Large containers filled with seeds and tools took up most of the space. Agricultural machinery sat secure to the deck plating with heavy chains and magnetic clamps. Everything looked normal for a ship bringing supplies to help a growing colony feed itself. Jake stood up from his chair and walked over to look at the cargo manifest on Lisa's screen. The paperwork showed exactly what anyone would expect to see on a merchant run. Tons of wheat and corn seeds along with farming tools and water purification systems. Nothing unusual or interesting to most people who might want to inspect the ship. Danny Price was down in cargo bay too, checking the tie-downs on some of the larger equipment. He was a big man with strong arms who handled the heavy lifting jobs on the ship. Danny had worked on cargo ships for many years and knew how to keep things secure during space travel. He moved between the containers, making sure nothing had shifted. During their journey, the ship had been traveling for 6 days since leaving Earth's trade stations. They were now deep in the corridor between human-controlled space and the frontier worlds, where new colonies struggled to establish themselves. This area was known to be dangerous because alien raiders sometimes attacked human ships that looked like easy targets. Dr. Amy Forster was in the medical bay organizing her supplies and checking the ship's small hospital area. She was responsible for keeping the crew healthy during long voyages and treating any injuries that might happen. Amy had served on many different ships over the years and had seen her share of trouble in the frontier regions. The rest of the crew went about their normal duties throughout the ship. Casey Williams worked in the communications center monitoring radio signals from other ships and space stations. At 19 years old, Casey was the youngest crew member but had already proven to be very reliable and smart. The others on the crew included mechanics and cargo handlers, who all seemed like ordinary working people. Jake returned to his command chair and picked up his coffee cup. The bridge was quiet except for the soft sounds of the ship's systems running normally. Everything felt peaceful as they moved through the dark space between the stars. This was the kind of routine trip that merchant crews made thousands of times. Every year, then, the ship's sensors detected something that changed everything. 3 large objects dropped out of hyperspace, directly in front of the Defiant Hope. The sensor screens showed alien warships with sleek designs and weapon ports that glowed with threatening energy. These were Vorthan ships, and they had appeared with no warning at all. Lisa's hands moved quickly over her controls as she tried to identify the ships that now blocked their path. The computer database confirmed what they all feared. These were Vorthan attack vessels known for their advanced technology and aggressive behavior toward human ships. The aliens had a reputation for taking prisoners and stealing cargo from anyone they caught alone. The lead Vorthan ship was larger than the other two and had the distinctive markings of a squadron commander's vessel. Its hull was dark blue with silver trim that seemed to shift and move in the starlight. Weapon arrays along its sides were already powered up and ready to fire. The ship looked dangerous and deadly compared to the simple human cargo vessel. Commander Zektar sat in the command center of his warship studying the readings from his advanced scanners. The human ship appeared to be exactly what it looked like. On the outside, a simple merchant vessel with basic engines and no visible weapons. His sensors could detect the life signs of 12 humans aboard, along with large amounts of organic material in the cargo holds. The Vorten commander felt confident as he looked at the scan results displayed on his screens. His 3 ships had more than enough firepower to destroy the human vessel completely if needed. The aliens had superior technology and weapons that could cut through human ship armor like paper. This would be an easy capture with no real danger to his forces. Zektar activated the communication system to contact the human ship. His voice carried the arrogant tone that Vorthens always used when dealing with what they considered inferior species. The message was simple and direct. The humans would surrender immediately or be destroyed where they sat. On the bridge of the Defiant Hope, Jake listened to the alien's demands with a calm expression on his face. He looked at Lisa, who nodded slightly as her fingers moved to activate certain systems throughout the ship. The movements were small and would not be noticed by anyone watching from outside. Bobby Chun received a quiet signal in the engine room and began making subtle adjustments to various systems. His actions looked like normal maintenance work, but we're actually preparing the ship for something very different from what the aliens expected. Down in the cargo holds, Danny Price received his own signal and started moving toward specific containers. Jake opened the communication channel to respond to the Vorthon commander. His voice was steady and showed no fear as he spoke to the alien who threatened his ship. Something in the human captain's tone seemed wrong to Zektar, but the Vorthon could not identify what bothered him about the response. The alien commander ordered his ships to move closer to the human vessel for boarding operations. His scanners still showed no weapons or military systems aboard the Defiant Hope. Everything indicated this would be a routine capture of helpless merchants who had wandered into the wrong part of space at the wrong time. The Vorthen boarding shuttles moved away from their motherships toward the human cargo vessel. Commander Zektar watched from his command center as his soldiers prepared to take control of what appeared to be a helpless merchant ship. His scanners continued to show no weapons or military systems aboard the Defiant Hope. The readings indicated only standard civilian equipment and organic cargo materials. Inside the human ship, things were not what they appeared to be. Jake Morrison's calm expression hid the fact that he was actually Colonel Jake Morrison of the Colonial Defense Corps. His fingers touched what looked like ordinary control buttons, but were actually neural interface points that connected directly to his enhanced nervous system. The ship's computer began receiving commands through biological pathways that no alien scanner could detect. Lisa Grant's movements became more purposeful as hidden systems throughout the ship came online. What the Vorthens saw as a simple navigation officer was actually a former tactical specialist with years of combat experience. Her console transformed as additional control surfaces emerged from panels that had appeared solid moments before. The bridge itself began to change in subtle ways that prepared it for battle conditions. Down in the cargo holds, the transformation was even more dramatic. The containers that held what appeared to be farming equipment began to shift and reconfigure themselves. Grain silos split open to reveal modular weapon components that had been disguised as agricultural machinery. Seeds and fertilizer moved aside as weapon systems emerged from their hiding places within the fake cargo. Danny Price's role changed completely as the ship revealed its true nature. The big cargo handler was actually a combat engineer with enhanced physical capabilities that made him stronger and faster than any normal human. His body contained microscopic technology that appeared completely organic to most scanning systems. The Vorthens had no idea that every human on the ship was essentially a living weapon. Bobby Chen worked quickly in the engine room as the ship's power systems reconfigured for combat operations. The engines that appeared to be simple merchant vessel drives were actually military-grade propulsion units disguised with holographic projectors and false readings. Hidden fusion reactors came online to provide the massive amounts of energy needed for the ship's true capabilities. The cargo bay doors opened to allow the Vorthen boarding craft to dock with the human ship. What the aliens expected to find was a standard docking bay with frightened merchants waiting to surrender. Instead, they discovered that the docking bay itself was a carefully designed trap. Hidden weapon ports opened in the walls while the deck plating revealed defensive positions. Dr. Amy Foster left her medical station and moved toward the docking area. She appeared to be a normal ship's doctor, but was actually a combat medic with advanced training in both healing and fighting. Her medical bag contained supplies that could save lives or end them depending on what the situation required. The Vorthans would learn too late that human medical officers were not helpless civilians. Casey Williams at the communication station began transmitting coded signals to other locations throughout the star system. What appeared to be routine merchant vessel communications were actually military coordination messages. The young officer was contacting other hidden human assets that the Vorthans did not know existed in this area of space. The first Vorthan soldiers came through the docking tube expecting to face unarmed cargo workers. Instead, they found Danny Price waiting for them with capabilities that defied everything their intelligence reports said about human physical limitations. His enhanced muscles and reflexes allowed him to move faster than the aliens could track while hitting with enough force to crush their armor. Commander Zektar received the first confused reports from his boarding party. His soldiers were describing impossible things about the humans they encountered. The merchants they expected to capture easily were fighting back with skills and abilities that no civilian should possess. Something was very wrong with the intelligence data about this ship. On the bridge, Jake activated more of the ship's hidden systems. The hull plating that appeared to be standard civilian construction began sliding away to reveal armor that could withstand military-grade weapons. Weapon ports opened along the ship's sides as gun systems emerged from concealment. The Defiant Hope was transforming from cargo vessel to warship before the aliens' eyes. Lisa coordinated the ship's defensive systems while maintaining communication with the crew throughout the vessel. Her tactical training allowed her to manage multiple combat situations at the same time. The bridge display showed the real status of ship systems that had been hidden from alien scanners through advanced stealth technology. The Vorthan boarding shuttles found themselves trapped against the hull of a ship that was no longer what their scanners had detected. Weapon systems that should not exist on a merchant vessel began targeting their craft. The pilots tried to retreat, but discovered that the human ship's docking clamps had secured them in place with magnetic fields too strong to break dot in the ship's corridors. The Vorthan soldiers encountered more crew members who fought with impossible skill and determination. Each human they faced demonstrated abilities that exceeded what their species should be capable of achieving. The aliens began to realize that they had made a terrible mistake about the nature of their intended victims. Bobby Chen activated the ship's true propulsion systems, and the Defiant Hope began to move with speed and agility that shocked the Vorthon commanders. Their own ships were fast, but the human vessel that had appeared slow and clumsy was now matching their best maneuvers. Hidden thrusters and gravity manipulators gave the ship capabilities that no cargo vessel should possess. The weapon systems that emerged from the ship's disguised hull began firing on the Vorthan warships. Energy beams and projectile weapons struck with accuracy that indicated advanced targeting computers. The aliens found their ships taking damage from weapons that their scanners insisted did not exist on the human vessel. Dr. Amy Foster reached the boarding area where Vorthan soldiers were trying to establish a foothold inside the human ship. Her medical training had taught her exactly where to strike alien anatomy for maximum effect. The soldiers who expected to face a helpless doctor instead encountered someone who could disable them with precise attacks to vulnerable points. Casey Williams coordinated with other ships throughout the system as the battle expanded beyond the immediate area. The Vortans were discovering that the empty space around them was not as empty as their scanners indicated. Additional human vessels began decloaking as the trap revealed its full scope. Commander Zektar realized that his squadron had not encountered helpless merchants, but had instead walked into a carefully planned ambush. The humans had somehow disguised military vessels and personnel as civilian traders. His advanced scanners had been completely fooled by technology that should not exist. The battle that the Vorthans expected to be a simple boarding action against unarmed merchants had become a fight for survival against an enemy that was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Their confidence in their superior technology was crumbling as the humans demonstrated capabilities that defied all expectations. The battle erupted across multiple levels as the Vorthans finally understood the magnitude of their error. What they had believed to be a simple merchant vessel was revealing itself as something far more dangerous. Colonel Jake Morrison stood on his bridge watching the alien ship struggle to adapt to a situation that had turned completely against them. The transformation of the Defiant Hope continued as more weapon systems emerged from their hidden positions throughout the hull. Missile launchers that had been disguised as cargo loading equipment began firing precision-guided warheads at the Vorthan vessels. The aliens found their ships under attack from weapons that should never have existed on a civilian transport. Lisa Grant coordinated the ship's tactical systems with the efficiency of someone who had commanded warships in previous conflicts. Her console displayed targeting information and battle status reports that would have been impossible on a real merchant vessel. The bridge crew worked together with the smooth precision of a military unit that had trained for exactly this type of engagement in the ship's corridors. The fighting intensified as more Vorthan soldiers discovered that they were not facing helpless civilians. Danny Price moved through the passages like a force of nature, using his enhanced strength to crush alien armor and weapons. His body's microscopic enhancements allowed him to heal from minor wounds almost instantly while maintaining peak physical performance. Bobby Chin had transformed the engine room into a fortress. Using the ship's internal defense systems, hidden weapon turrets emerged from the walls to provide covering fire, while he continued to manage the ship's power distribution. The young engineer demonstrated tactical awareness that came from military training rather than civilian education. Dr. Amy Foster had established a defensive position near the medical bay where she could treat wounded crew members while also eliminating any aliens who threatened her patients. Her medical knowledge made her attacks devastatingly effective as she struck pressure points and nerve clusters that disabled enemies without killing them. Unnecessarily, the youngest crew member, Casey Williams, proved to be far more than a simple communications officer. The 19-year-old displayed combat reflexes and situational awareness that exceeded most adult soldiers. Casey's enhanced nervous system processed information at superhuman speeds while coordinating defensive actions throughout the ship. Commander Zektar watched his carefully planned boarding operation collapse into chaos as his soldiers reported impossible resistance from the human crew. The merchants his intelligence had described as weak and defenseless were systematically destroying his elite troops. Every assumption about human capabilities was proving to be completely wrong. The Vorthan warships found themselves struggling against a human vessel that moved and fought like a purpose-built military craft. The Defiant Hope's hidden armor was deflecting their weapons while its own guns systematically targeted critical systems on the alien ships. What should have been an easy victory was becoming a desperate fight for survival. Jake opened communication channels with the surviving Vorthan forces, and his calm voice carried across space to reach their command centers. He identified himself as Colonel Morrison of the Colonial Defense Corps and explained that the aliens had just attacked a military unit on a classified mission. The Vorthans were learning that they had chosen the wrong target. The ship's true capabilities became fully apparent as additional weapon systems came online. Particle beam projectors that had been hidden within fake cargo containers began carving through Vorthan ship hulls. The aliens discovered that their advanced armor was no protection against human weapons that operated on principles they did not understand. Lisa activated the ship's electronic warfare systems and began jamming communications and targeting computers. The alien vessels found their coordination breaking down as their advanced technology was disrupted by human countermeasures. Their ships began firing on empty space as their sensors fed them false information. The battle inside the ship reached its climax as the remaining Vorthan boarders made a desperate attempt to reach the bridge. They encountered Danny Price in the main corridor, where his enhanced abilities allowed him to hold off multiple attackers simultaneously. The big man fought with a combination of brute strength and tactical skill that overwhelmed the alien soldiers. Bobby Chen emerged from the engine room wearing what appeared to be a maintenance suit but was actually powered armor disguised to look like civilian equipment. His enhanced strength was multiplied by mechanical systems that allowed him to tear through Vorthan equipment with his bare hands. The young engineer had become a one-man army. Dr. Amy Foster coordinated with Casey Williams to establish overlapping fields of fire in the ship's central areas. Their combined efforts created kill zones where any alien soldiers who entered would face immediate and overwhelming resistance. The medical officer and communications specialist worked together like a trained military team. The external battle reached a turning point as one of the Vorthan warships suffered critical damage to its main reactor. The ship's power systems failed, and it began drifting helplessly, while emergency systems struggled to maintain life support. The aliens were learning that their technological superiority meant nothing against opponents who understood their weaknesses. Commander Zektar made the desperate decision to order his remaining ships to retreat from the battle zone. His forces had taken massive casualties and accomplished nothing except to reveal that humanity possessed military capabilities far beyond what Vorthan intelligence had reported. The simple boarding action had become a disaster. The Defiant Hope pursued the fleeing alien vessels with speed that should have been impossible for its apparent size and configuration. Hidden engines and maneuvering thrusters gave the ship performance that matched or exceeded the best Vorthon military vessels. The humans were not content to simply survive the encounter. Jake coordinated with other human assets throughout the star system as additional ships decloaked and joined the pursuit. The Vorthans discovered that they had wandered into a carefully prepared trap involving multiple human vessels that had been waiting for exactly this opportunity. Their raid had become an ambush. The surviving Vorthan soldiers aboard the Defiant Hope found themselves surrounded and outnumbered by humans who demonstrated abilities that defied every assumption about their species. The aliens who had expected to capture helpless merchants were instead taken prisoner by warriors who showed them professional military courtesy. Lisa began analyzing the captured Vorthan equipment and technology, while Bobby worked to repair any damage the ship had sustained during the battle. The crew moved with practiced efficiency to secure their prisoners and prepare for whatever came next. They had revealed their true nature, and there would be consequences. The battle that the Vorthans had started as a simple raid against helpless merchants had become a demonstration of human military capabilities that would change how alien species viewed humanity. The message was clear that humans were no longer easy targets for anyone who wanted to prey on apparently defenseless ships. The space around the Defiant Hope filled with more human ships as the trap revealed its full scope. What Commander Zektar had believed was empty space suddenly contained a dozen vessels that had been hiding with advanced stealth technology. The Vorthan commander realized that his squadron had not stumbled onto a random merchant ship, but had instead walked into a carefully planned operation. Colonel Jake Morrison stood on his bridge watching the alien ships try to escape from a situation that had turned completely against them. His calm demeanor never changed, even as weapon fire lit up the darkness around them. The human officer had planned for this exact scenario, and every move the Vorthans made had been anticipated and prepared for. Lisa Grant coordinated with the other human ships through encrypted communication channels that the aliens could not intercept or decode. Her tactical displays showed the positions of all friendly and enemy vessels in the area. The Vorthans were trying to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked by human ships that appeared from nowhere. The damaged Vorthan warship continued to drift helplessly as its crew struggled to repair critical systems. Bobby Chen monitored their distress signals and reported that the alien vessel was losing life support and would soon be unable to sustain its crew. The ship represented hundreds of alien lives that would be lost if something was not done quickly. Dr. Amy Foster suggested that they could offer medical assistance to the damaged Vorthon ship. Her proposal surprised some of the crew who expected the humans to simply destroy their enemies. Jake considered the option carefully because saving alien lives could demonstrate that humanity was not just capable of war, but also capable of mercy. Danny Price secured the Vorthan prisoners who had been captured during the boarding action. The big man treated them with professional courtesy rather than the brutality they might have expected. His enhanced strength made it easy to restrain the aliens without causing unnecessary harm. The prisoners watched him with growing respect. For his restraint, Casey Williams intercepted communications between the fleeing Vorthan ships and discovered that they were calling for reinforcements from other squadrons in the area. The young officer reported that additional alien forces might arrive within hours if the current battle was not concluded quickly. Time was becoming a critical factor in the engagement. Commander Zektar made desperate attempts to contact his superiors and report what his forces had encountered. The human capabilities he was witnessing exceeded everything in Vorthan intelligence files about the species. His reports were met with disbelief from commanders who could not accept that humans possessed such advanced military technology. The pursuit of the fleeing Vorthan ships intensified as the human vessels demonstrated speed and maneuverability that should have been impossible. The Defiant Hope led the chase while other human ships moved to cut off possible escape routes. The aliens found themselves trapped in a star system they had entered confidently just hours before. Jake opened communication channels with the Vorthan commander and offered terms for surrender that would spare the lives of the alien crews. His tone remained calm and professional as he explained that continued resistance would only result in more casualties. The human colonel demonstrated the same composure he had shown at the beginning of the encounter. The second Vorthan warship suffered engine damage from concentrated human fire and began losing speed. Its commander faced a choice between surrender and certain destruction as human. Weapons continued to target critical systems. The aliens were learning that human military technology was far more advanced than they had been told. Lisa analyzed the battle data and confirmed that the human forces had achieved complete tactical superiority over the alien squadron. The Vorthans had lost one ship entirely and the other two were taking heavy damage. Their advanced scanners and weapons had proven useless against human capabilities they had never encountered before. Bobby Chen worked with Dr. Amy Foster to prepare medical aid for the crew of the damaged Vorthan ship. The engineer modified some of the ship's equipment to create emergency life support systems that could be transferred to the alien vessel. Their efforts showed that humans could be both fierce warriors and compassionate healers. The remaining Vorthon ships made one final attempt to escape by using their fastest engines and most evasive maneuvers. They discovered that the human vessels could match every move they made while continuing to inflict damage with precisely targeted weapons. The chase had become a demonstration of human superiority in space combat. Danny Price volunteered to lead a boarding party to the damaged Vorthan ship to provide emergency assistance. His enhanced abilities would allow him to work in the hostile environment of a failing alien vessel. The big man's willingness to risk his own life to save enemies impressed even the Vorthan prisoners. Casey Williams detected additional human ships arriving at the edge of the star system. Reinforcements were coming to ensure that no Vorthan vessels escaped to report what they had learned. The young officer's coordination efforts had brought together a force that could handle any alien. Response to the current situation, Commander Zektar watched his carefully planned raid turn into a complete disaster as his ships were systematically disabled by human forces. The aliens who had expected easy victory found themselves completely outmatched by opponents they had underestimated. Every advantage they thought they possessed had been turned against them. The battle reached its conclusion as the last functional Vorthan warship lost its main engines and began drifting helplessly. Jake gave the order to cease fire and offered medical assistance to all alien survivors. The human response demonstrated both military superiority and moral authority that left the Vorthans with no choice but to accept surrender terms. Dr. Amy Foster and Bobby Chen led teams to the damaged alien ships to provide emergency medical care and technical assistance. Their efforts saved hundreds of Vorthan lives and showed that humans could be generous in victory. The aliens began to understand that they had encountered a species that was both more dangerous and more honorable than they had believed. The space battle that had started as a Vorthan ambush against helpless merchants had become a demonstration of human military capabilities that would change how alien species viewed humanity throughout the galaxy. The message was clear that humans were no longer easy prey for anyone who wanted to attack their ships. Jake prepared to send a message to Vorthan command centers explaining exactly what had happened to their squadron. The alien leadership would learn that their intelligence about human capabilities was completely wrong and that future attacks would face the same overwhelming response. The age of easy victories over human vessels was ending. The aftermath of the battle left the Kepler corridor filled with the wreckage of Vorthan ambitions and the clear message that humanity would no longer be considered easy prey. Colonel Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant Hope, watching his crew work to save the lives of the same aliens who had intended to destroy them just hours before. The contrast between Vorthan expectations and human reality could not have been more stark. Commander Zektar found himself a prisoner aboard the human vessel that his scanners had identified as a helpless merchant ship. The alien commander watched Danny Price work alongside Dr. Amy Foster to treat wounded Vorthan soldiers with the same care they gave to injured humans. The big man's gentle handling of alien casualties showed a side of humanity that Vorthan intelligence had never reported. Lisa Grant, coordinated the recovery operations throughout the star system while managing communications with human command centers across the galaxy. Her tactical displays showed the positions of captured alien vessels and the status of rescue operations. The professional efficiency of the human response impressed even the alien observers who had expected chaos and brutality. Bobby Chen led engineering teams aboard the damaged Vorthan ships to stabilize their life support systems and prevent further casualties. The young engineer's knowledge of alien technology surprised the Vorthons, who had believed that humans lacked the technical skills to understand advanced systems. His work saved hundreds of lives that would have been lost otherwise. Dr. Amy Forster established medical stations on all 3 alien vessels and began treating wounded soldiers from both sides of the battle. Her medical expertise extended to alien physiology, and she worked with the same dedication to save Vorthan lives as she did human ones. The doctor's actions demonstrated that humanity valued life regardless of species. Casey Williams worked at the communications station to transmit complete records of the battle to human military command and intelligence services throughout known space. The young officer ensured that every detail of the encounter would be analyzed and shared with other human forces. The lessons learned would help protect future operations. The most important task was preparing the message that would be sent to Vorthan command centers throughout their empire. Jake personally recorded a transmission that would explain exactly what had happened to the alien squadron and why their intelligence about human capabilities was completely wrong. The message would change how the galaxy viewed humanity. Jake's transmission was calm and professional as he addressed the military leadership. He explained that the squadron had attacked a Colonial Defense Corps unit conducting classified operations. The aliens had mistaken military personnel for civilian merchants and paid the price for their error. Human ships throughout the galaxy might not be what they appeared to be. The colonel made it clear that humanity was tired of being seen as weak prey for alien raiders. Human colonies and ships would be defended by forces that possessed capabilities far beyond what most species realized. The age of easy victories over human targets was ending, and aggressive species would learn to respect human strength. Commander Zektar was given the opportunity to add his own report to the transmission. The alien officer's account of the battle would carry more weight with Vorthan leadership than human claims about their capabilities. His description of enhanced humans and disguised warships would force a complete reassessment of human military potential. The damaged Vorthon ships were repaired enough to make the journey back to their home territory. Jake made the decision to allow one ship to escape with survivors who could carry the message back to their people. The other vessels and their crews would be transferred to human custody for intelligence gathering and prisoner exchange negotiations. Dr. Amy Foster insisted on providing medical supplies and equipment to the departing Vorthan ship. Her generosity toward former enemies demonstrated the humanitarian values that guided human military operations. The aliens would remember that humans had shown mercy when they could have chosen revenge instead. Bobby Chen completed modifications to the alien ship's navigation systems that would ensure safe passage back to Vorthan space. The young engineer's technical assistance showed that humans possessed knowledge and skills that exceeded alien expectations. His work would save lives and deliver an important message. The Defiant Hope began returning to its merchant vessel appearance. As the immediate crisis passed, hidden weapon systems retracted into concealment while the ship's hull resumed its disguised configuration. Casual observers would once again see an ordinary cargo vessel rather than the advanced warship it actually was. Lisa coordinated with other human ships in the system as they prepared to resume their own covert missions. The network of disguised military vessels would continue operating throughout the galaxy, while alien species learned to fear what they could not see. Human strength would remain hidden until it was needed. Danny Price supervised the transfer of alien prisoners to secure holding facilities, where they would be treated according to human military standards. The big man's careful handling of the captives showed that humans understood the difference between necessary force and unnecessary cruelty. Honor and victory was as important as victory itself. Casey Williams transmitted the final battle reports to human intelligence services that would analyze every aspect of the encounter. The young officer's detailed records would help develop new tactics and technologies for future operations. Knowledge gained from one battle would benefit all human forces. The transmission to Vorthon leadership was sent through multiple channels to ensure that the message reached all levels of their military command. Jake wanted no doubt about what had happened or what it meant for future relations between the species. The time for misunderstandings about human capabilities was over. As the surviving Vorthon ship departed, the system commander Zektar carried with him a new understanding of humanity that would spread throughout his empire. The species that had seemed weak and vulnerable was actually more dangerous than any of their traditional enemies. Vorthon raids against human targets would become much less common. The Defiant Hope resumed its original heading toward New Dakota colony, where it would deliver actual agricultural supplies along with its hidden military cargo. The crew would continue their mission, while other human ships throughout the galaxy sent similar messages to any species that might consider attacking human vessels. Dr. Amy Foster returned to her medical duties while maintaining the treatment protocols she had developed for alien patients. Her innovations in cross-species medicine would benefit future operations where humans might need to provide aid to various alien populations. Mercy could be as powerful as weapons. The message had been sent across the galaxy that humanity would no longer accept the role of victim in encounters with aggressive alien species. Human ships might appear harmless but could prove deadly to anyone who made the mistake of attacking them. The scanners might say unarmed, but the reality would be far different.